Hello again. Alrighty. So, continuing right the hell along here. Not much different last time. I don't think I actually changed anything since last time, so that would make it a little bit difficult for stuff to be different, huh? Except for you. You need gloves, don't you? Yeah. So, by the way, comparing different stuff here. So, basically, as you can see here, the difference between, like, Sarah and a generic archer here is not even remotely as extreme anymore. If you, look at their stats, Sarah's actually got worse dex right now, largely due to the leather sleeves here. Let's downgrade her real quick. But yeah, her dex is like 3 higher, not like 15 or whatever it was on base game. But more or less, that's just kind of how it goes. It's just gonna be better in general. Like, there's a better balance across the board. It's nice to see, you know? It's just nice. He's all well and good. Is the main point I'm trying to get across here. Alright, so we don't need medic hitting as hard. Felicia, we'll leave you with a country for now. Get her upgraded later. Okay, so this is not even really a fight, but we're gonna go ahead and switch Wolfston in. We're gonna switch Felicia in, and we're gonna add Sarah. Mostly because I want them to be able to get some points to more or less catch up with everybody else. They're like 2 fights behind at the moment. Also, the sword fighter that doesn't have a sword. Wow, this guy knows how to think. Guess who doesn't? The guy who calls himself a sword fighter and uses a hammer. That guy. Good job. Now you have 1 less person and even less of a chance. Go ahead and die for a vague cause, I guess. Like, you just imagine the looks on those other 3 behind him, like, man, we are absolutely boned. There's no hope. We are on the wrong side here. But yeah, so they've got, let's see, they've got slightly more. I think they've got 13 or 10. Well, let's see, they've got 3 over here, 4 over here, 3 over here. Yeah, so they've got 10. They would have had 11, against our, 10? 6, 11. So would have had even numbers, but that genius just decided to magically one-shot one of his own guys. So good going, champ. You have really screwed your people even more than they already were. And now that the archers have longbows, they will never have short bows. So, big difference between light and heavy weapons with this mod. Essentially, there's okay, so in base game, it was more along the lines of just range was the main difference between them. Specifically, range and hands, those were the main difference. And now, because of the firing recovery time, which longbows, guns, and heavy crossbows have very, very long recovery times. So bows need that time to go and, adjust their aim. Crossbows need to be reloaded, as do fusils. But yeah, the short bows, small crossbows, and things like that, they have a tendency to be a lot more useful for skirmisher-type units. So, for example, lay down your stuff. You literally only now created that number situation for yourself, so that's just dumb. This guy just seems suicidal. Because you're an idiot, that's why. Anyway. So, point being, as far as ranged weapons go, short and, both light and heavy variants remain pretty well viable for different situations. But the heavy ones really do not want to be moved around at all. Like, if you set up archers, you might as well just set them up in one spot and leave them there. If you set up with, if you have lighter units, those are the ones that would be using the lighter variants to be able to move around more, not have their turns take forever. So it's much more of a consideration, is the main point I'm trying to get across here. And so I did. So yeah, how about that? Like, for example, rogues especially, actually rogues are probably one exception to that. Personally, I really like using short bow and dagger on rogues, just because it gives them a lot of options. They can go and harass with short bows, especially if you leave them with boulder bows for a while. They can be really useful for POTD. But essentially, you leave them with a short bow, have them do harassment stuff on squishy units, have them run around the back, practice stealing stuff and all that. And then once that's all said and done, you just okay, so short bows have the same kill moves. That hasn't changed. So they've got a charm move, so probably the most effective combo I was able to use for one of them was just, she goes and harasses a bunch of squishies, just nabs stuff while back there, and then goes and turns the frontliners against each other. So basically a very effective sabotage unit. On the other hand, though, I set up a small group of rogues with two-handed crossbows and speed star. So for every shot, they would be able to get pretty close to pulling off another speed star. Usually it was 2 shots per being able to use one of those, which meant that they were functionally able to counteract the long reload time with their ability. So they, obviously they weren't as fast as if they had just used a short bow for that sort of thing, but they were very effective for going around and sniping things. So that's another pretty useful consideration here. Archers, they're good for holding a spot. What I did there with moving them long range isn't a terribly good idea, but they are strictly a support unit. They're not your main push. So, like base game, if you had a couple archers in your team, it would functionally be that you had your front line essentially going and moving up to a spot and holding it while your archers went and pretty much dealt with everything. Then you had your archers deal with them. From that... I want to say Felicia starts out with more stuff, actually. But yeah, so you would have them deal with any particular stuff that's up there, essentially breaking through that line that the frontliner should have been trying to break through. And yeah, then they could go and get flanks and all that sort of thing. Just go and attack from the back and everything. So it was an odd way of doing it. It's its own way, sure. And they still weren't terribly effective against stuff like dragons and whatnot, which kind of the premier two-hander crossbow unit in base game was the Dragoon there. They're more of a hybrid now, so they're just better at a lot of different means of fighting, but not necessarily... Hi, cat. Why are you biting my toe? What is that? Alright, the cat suddenly just came up and started chewing on my toe. Anyway, so yeah, Dragoons are better at a lot of different things now, so that when they're not going and fighting dragons and things like that, they're still useful to have around. There's actually a lot more ways to deal with beast units and dragon units, so they're not just a lock and key type of situation. Because that was dumb in base game, I must say. Alright, there we go, get rid of her. Probably have the archers move up and deal with their healer. That's another thing. Healers matter a lot more in 1 Vision. They're a lot tougher. They can equip armor, or light armors and helmets. They're able to, need a healing? Not really. So they're able to defend themselves pretty well. They've got pretty high evasion from the types of armor that are available to them, and they've got light shields as well. And on top of that, they can even fight back. They can use instills. They can actually be a very, very good hybrid. So that's why they're monks now instead of sibyls. But they can be pretty hard to deal with. So that's another thing. And actually, one of my favorite changes with the mod. As Trizomite, base game, there was almost not even a point to them existing. Now, yes, you basically had all of your exorcisms and heals and, you know, blessing moves and AoE moves and stuff like that. But at the same time, you could just go and buy books and just have anyone use those books because they didn't scale. Which almost seems like that was the intent. So now, does it feel dirty doing that? Sure. But it's still something that was there. So, it's much nicer this way. Their stuff scales. You can't use books in fights anymore, so you'll see the options just gone. So yeah, they've got their purpose. They do it well. As with all classes, they all have something that they do, and they do it fantastically. So for example, the reason that I'm going to have Venom as a Beastmaster down the line, as far as I see it, it's most practical to just have one of them. And in KOL, and especially in this mod, I really like having my my leader as a Beastmaster. Largely because of the fact that, I mean, A, you only need one, B, they're going to be very slightly stronger than a lot of your other units, which you may notice he's a little bit underpowered. He's definitely not the Ultra Super Beast that he is in the base game. Dang it, Sarah. I forgot to mention Sarah and Voltaire and Felicia all have unique sprites, but anyway, I'm pretty sure anyone that's looking at this also probably looked at the other one. Although there have been 3 new people that came in lately, so I knew people. Like the moment I started this, so I don't know if there's like a challenging running community or something that popped up out of nowhere. Oh well. Let's probably have you move up here. So yeah, back to the point I was trying to make. So, as far as recruiting goes, normally I like to switch everybody over to something like a Beastmaster or whatever else, just to... I forgot to get into his abilities. Just to go and give him just something to help whenever mass training units. Now, since the poaching economy isn't much of a thing in this, as in you can just go and get metal and craft stuff, it's not nearly as necessary. So having just one is fine. You don't need to have a bunch of people that know how to use Tame and Subdue. But it's still very useful to have somebody that's already being protected, that's able to do all of the buffs they can do. They can speed them up. They can increase their damage, and I believe there's another one I'm forgetting right now. But they're a lot better. Is the main takeaway. Overall, this party is not exactly practical or meta whatsoever in any way yet. We'll be getting to that point. Not exactly there yet. Like I mentioned, after this whole peace treaty thing, that's when a lot of the other class marks open up, so that's when I'll be able to start turning this party into something else. For now, I just want Venom training and spears. I want this guy training to be a better caster, because he's going to be a warlock down the line. So that's going to open up around the end of chapter 3, or no, end of chapter 2, I believe. So we're going to get that. I will be having... what's his face? I'm going to have the guy that's currently a soldier be a ninja, because his stats are pretty good for the weapon he's using. I'm going to have my... gonna have a Dragoon set up down the line, since we're not getting Yunin this time, so I'm just gonna... you know, screw it, I'm probably gonna make Ornstein. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that's how you're facing that way. I'll do that down the line. One thing, I mentioned it before, but yeah, the early game leaders are way stronger. So, no running up to Desmond and just beating the crap out of him this time. No! Oh, Bear, who's gonna run that show now? That's been so weird. So, there was an election on this end that, like, ended yesterday. And it's such a bizarre situation, because suddenly there's, like, all this happy news on the news and all that. They're like, yay, we didn't elect a pedophile. Man, that bar's low. Yeah, no, I was watching his show just before this. Like every morning, while putting together AC AI Arena stuff, I'd look through different comedian shows and whatever else, just to kind of get a general gist of what's going on in the world. But yeah, so that happened. I don't know. Politics is already a scary place. It has been even scarier in the last year. There's literally no avoiding it. They go have a friggin' game night with the family. They're like, hey, did you hear about this and this and this and this? I'm like, no, I just want to trade my sheep for some wheat and friggin' go make a settlement over there, not... I don't care what the stupid hairdo did today, please stop. And then everybody ends up having a conversation about it, whether they like it or not. Because then eventually, one person chimes in, this was okay! And then immediately, most of the table turns around are you serious? They kicked out a bunch of people for no reason! And they screwed over a bunch of people for no reason! How is that okay? Depressing state of affairs. Anyway, moving on. Alright. It's this next fight that unlocks and then... No, wait. Let's double check, because I think this is when they unlock. I could be very well wrong. It's more than likely. Yes, no. So it's next fight that drops them. Do we get... Okay, we don't get a random. And so aside from that first fight, we're basically just going to be going straight through this thing, other than party balancing down the line. Not really going to need a lot of the upgrades or whatever else for a while. Yeah, I think we're just good to go. However, how do you feel about getting naked? There we go. So we're gonna have her run up and sort out this whole healing situation, so she's fine right there. Voltaire... Do you want him or the other guy? Alright, Lloyd's already represented. Actually, these guys are already represented too. We're gonna go double monks, I think. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Arguably, the soldier would have been more useful, but we're just gonna go full healing this time. And so yeah, she's not even denying the whole Liberation Front thing. So they're about to feed her to a friggin' dragon. So she gets all friggin' agile and gets out of that situation. And then instead of running away, decides to fight him. Yeah, so hopefully this won't end the run right here if she gets 3 crits in a row. But yeah, this apparently only affects your Chaos frame, not whether or not you actually get to recruit her. But we're gonna go ahead and go with this one. Alright, so Bolus was already a tank before. He is downright intimidating at this point. Dragon runs up. She is very fast, she's good at evading, and she's good at fighting back. So... really, the main thing is just not to let that wizard get enough turns to actually take her out. Most of the other stuff she can just avoid. So thank you, Rakes. You made her actually consistently savable now. So that's a problem. Move on. So first things first. Instead of that Beastmaster coming down and being the first to fight, this guy seems to charge in a lot more. For some reason, base game there's a tendency for that guy to remain back while the Beastmaster charges forward. It's a strange thing. Alright. Coming back here at later levels is actually a little bit worse because she remains at level 3, whereas they keep leveling up. That's why I only did 1 grind fight up to this point. Grind fights are not nearly as necessary. Oh, crap. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, run. Dang it. Stop dodging 70%, you dick. Out of range, are you? Need 2 more tiles. Now, by and large, the naked approach is not actually going to be practical in a lot of cases. This is probably the only time I'm actually going to end up using it. So base game, you got a huge recovery time penalty based on the equipment that you wore. In many cases, sending people in naked was just the best way to go, especially for stuff like this. However, due to the way stuff has changed, in most cases you're really not getting that big of a penalty. Okay, good. So she's actually in a relatively safe spot, and everyone else can take hits. That's fine. What are you doing? Arguably helpful, actually. Stuff. Please poison. No poison. Dang it. I'm gonna need you to finish this guy off, please. Thank you. Okay. Good job. Good job not dying. Alright, we need this guy to drop his class marks. Mr. Guy with a girl's name. I know there was something I was saying, and I completely forgot what it was now. Why don't you heal her? As much as I want you taking that guy out, he needs to actually be able to run up and heal Sestina. Once she gets 1 heal off, honestly, we're going to be able to overwhelm the Dragon and Beastmaster wall pretty soon here. And hopefully that right there is the last time that I'm going to need to move the archers. Just slowly moving up. They're much slower now. There we go, so Felicia's going to take some hits. Probably going to end up needing to be evacuated. Now, one thing that I'll do here, or at least I'll try to do if it's possible, is to just evacuate Sestina. So, basically, if you run up and evacuate units that you're trying to save, then they just basically count as alive, with the exception of one fight that somebody reported a while ago, which I think was being patched out in the next version. But I don't remember what that is right now. Although, it might just be a waste of a gem right now, because Sestina's doing fine. They're not even targeting her anymore. Run up and do some healing. Yeah, I love this evacuation mechanic. In case it was missed before, basically you can't revive units with anybody other than a I apologize. My brain's not working right today. With anybody other than a Spellblade. I keep wanting to call them fencers. I don't know why it is that after 100 plus parts, I still can't remember that they're Spellblades now. I might just call them fencers for convenience. Alright. Do we get you out of here? Yes. There we go. Guest saved. ETFO. No need to even risk accidentally losing the run here for no reason. Alright, so they're just gonna go for us now. Dragon goes first. Probably have the archers take care of the Beastmaster, and maybe Leonard will help there. Got Bison Denim taking care of the squishies. I mean, this is pretty much done at this point. And I might end up losing Vice. I don't care. I don't like Vice very much. Honestly, even Laru Vice. He's either a dick or he's really pretentious. That's the thing. Like, I know he's supposed to be, like, early Delita and whatever else. He's not actually Delita. He's like Sucky Delita, that's who he is. Oh well. There's a lot of likable characters to make up for him being a massive prick. So, in case you missed it, by the way, his whole reason behind being a dick most of the time is mostly just because he's basically trying to get in Casual's pants. So, pretty much the entire thing is like, I'm gonna be so impressive, I'm gonna do the opposite of that guy. This is totally gonna get me laid, and then, you know, he mostly just gets laid into the ground most of the time. So there's that. Yeah. Anyway, there's the Beastmaster marks over there. We'll go pick them up before anybody else does. Punch you. Any darn ways, that guy should be a bit of a threat now. So if we can poison him, that'd be nice. Poison is very useful for some of the upgraded bosses now. Because if you can, you know, you can get that early poison off on them, and then they'll run away. And then you can just kind of monster hunter them, you know? Just like, hey, they're poisoned, I'm just gonna chase them around for a while. Good stuff. Is this worth it? Probably not. He doesn't even have a skill that she's training with that, so... Man, I just pulled a dumb. You are gonna stab this archer. Congratulations. He is stabbed. Forget if she has Augment Light. Nope. Does not come with it yet. You need to start opening up this can right here. As Rakes likes to call him, he's a can opener. If you get to, well, I guess not in his current setup. He usually refers to the heavier weapons as the can openers, but a Voltaire with a hammer is pretty decent, even a one-handed one. This is probably unnecessary, but I don't want to chance her getting healed. Poison, please. Oh. No poison. She is safe, but I'll heal her anyway. 99% certain those are Beastmaster marks in that bag over there. But I think they're pretty much a guaranteed drop. Alright, so he's gonna Raptorize that guy. We're gonna do Piss All for damage. He says he won't move those archers again. He proceeds to move those archers again. Oh well. Oh, one more minor thing. You may have noticed. As far as the starter kind of, I like to call them vertical moves, but your starter move from your casters. Yeah, that is a, that's basically a full 5-tile thing. Now it's not a 1-tile target anymore. So it's a lot more useful. Quite a bit more useful. I'm gonna think that. Did I ever lower the volume again? Yeah, that is at 1%. You're gonna have to go mess with audio settings if it's still not good. Hopefully it is. Otherwise, I'ma feel like a dumb for doing 2 parts in a row with messed up audio. Oh well. Oh well. But yeah, Voltaire's gone through a few iterations of different looks and whatever else. Personally, I really love this, just like Red Knight look. Oops. That's not the right one. But that's the one I was referring to. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, I think it looks really nice on him. There's a couple times in like random fights and whatnot when you run into clones, but it really does not come up often enough that it would be a problem. Can still hit, right? Yeah. Fuck it, bonus. But yeah, so the only ones I've seen clones of really are, let's see. For Tammuz, if you end up getting him, he is over in San Bronza. There's a boss fight that has clones of his, and then a couple other maps. Again, they don't really come up that often, so, you know, less than 1% of the fights having that unit, completely fine. For Voltaire, I believe it's just a couple of the random maps, which honestly you can just tell by the way they're facing. And then for Deneb, she basically uses the same one as the witches that show up in Tynemouth, which again you can kind of tell based off where they are. Not that confusing of a thing. Yeah, that's a good usage of that kill move there, Leonard. You got this. And Bolus is almost down. I don't really have anything to get past his armor, so we're just gonna beat the hell out of him. Which is not terribly unrealistic, actually. Like, honestly, one of the recommended tactics that I was reading about from back in the day, it was like, okay, if there's a bunch of people that are facing a guy in full plate or whatever else, just like, completely surround the guy, pin him to the ground, and just like, find a hole and stab it. Kind of funny because somehow that also got translated into just look for holes while fighting, which might work, but, you know, the person's been kind of trained to defend those, so that might make it a little bit difficult. But yeah, no. They're like, no, just grab onto the guy. Because they are still a person. Like, they may have a pretty nigh impenetrable shell on them, but they're still a person. They're still subject to physics. That's kind of one of the hilarious things about RPGs, and why I always love whenever this stuff kind of comes up. Like, where you can actually use physics for this kind of stuff, and I think New Vegas was my favorite example of that. Where, like, you know, somebody might be very well defended and everything else, but then, you know, you can still completely just abuse the systems in play there. Like, yeah, you know, sure, their armor's really good, but you hit their arm enough times, that thing's not going to be able to work very well. And there we go, Beastmaster marks. Cutscenes. And she's all like, oh yeah, didn't get murdered today. Nope. Got teleported out and got friggin' Star Trek out of that situation. Well, you're not a scout. Well, it does kind of explain how she's dressed, now that I think about it. She's just dressed up all common-like. Well, I guess the armor kind of sticks out. You should probably stick that under the dress. So basically what he's saying is they're gorillas. I mean, what they do. So she's trying to say that's not right. And that's kind of one of the first tastes of, I would say second or third taste. Yeah, peace. So this is apparently the one that decides whether or not you can recruit her later. Because, yeah, this is basically, you know, country before people, and this one's just, yeah, war sucks. You know, first or second taste here of, everybody was hoping for a better time at another, you know, at another place. So, first the Backroom are okay, then the Walster were okay, now the Galgastani are okay, and everybody just wants their best time back. No, come back, we want to recruit you. Dang it, it's gonna be so much more difficult with friggin' keeping Bane alive. It's just straight up RNG. Alright. Congratulations, you know how to animals. Let's see. I got a bunch of spam emails. Nice. Learn. You can't learn. Bummer. Can use two-handed spears now, though. So that's nice. Can you use suckier armor? That was a weird noise. Alright, so this is a good example right here. So levels do not make nearly as much of a difference as they used to, but equipment still does, which is another kind of classic tactics Ogre kind of thing. So right here, he's got a very good necklace on him. He's got basic equipment. This guy's got, you know, okay equipment. But these numbers aren't terribly accurate, by the way. If you look in the top right, little sword icon, little shield icon, that's kind of the ones I'm comparing here. Now, they're not terribly accurate, like I said. It's not... These numbers have a tendency to be off in a lot of situations, but for the sake of general comparison, you know, that's what we're looking at here. So, okay. Unequip, unequip. Okay, so, base attack for those 5 levels only changes by 12. Ranged attack changes quite a bit. This is disregarding their base stats, by the way, because his are not terribly good. Actually, my generic soldier guy here seems to be better in just about everything. So, at any rate, so, you know, defense is almost the same, resistance is, or magic resistance is exactly the same, casting ability is exactly the same. It's nice, you know? Yeah, and the ability to equip accessories is still not there. There we go. That is good. Also, this necklace is much better. Adds to defense, adds to all of his attack abilities, adds to luck, adds to health, and adds just a base 5 extra attack on top of that, so it's very nice to have. It actually ends up being pretty useful throughout the entire game, which I always like to see. What are we looking at time-wise here? Ooh, it's going on quite a ways here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and leave it here, and see you in the next bit.